Welcome to Talk Birdie to Me. This is Australia's most popular golf podcast with former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn, the only player to beat Tiger Woods twice in match play, and tour pro Mark Allen, who played professional golf around the world for 15 years, including a British Open. We're coming from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. Titleist is the number one ball in golf, and FootJoy is the number one shoe and glove in golf. And thanks to our great partners, Watch My Numbers, the most powerful database golf app in the world. Download from the App Store or Google Play. Ping, as with Nick O'Hearn, will help you play your best. See your local golf shop or professional for a Ping Club fitting. The Golf Clearance Outlet beat everyone's prices. Visit golfclearanceoutlet.com.au for your nearest store. And Betr, the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. Now that's better. Now, from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, it's time for Talk Birdie to Me. Here's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So, Dan, you and I are a little bit lonely in here because we're at Titleist FootJoy headquarters and we find Nick O'Hearn currently in Aspen doing some skiing. Have a look where he is. He's just got the open fire roaring in the background.
Yes.
Nice to see you, Nicholas. Look, I don't know about you, but I cannot wait now for the US Open. Rory wins the Masters. Yeah. You got Scottie Scheffler winning the PGA. Imagine if these two just keep on winning majors or, you know, some of the superstars of golf. I just feel like it's been a masterstroke to move the US PGA to May. Normally May was a dead month, but now this year sets up so beautifully. There's so much to look forward to.
Yeah, there certainly is. And g'day, guys. I'm actually not in Aspen. I'm at up near Cathedral, so,
yes.
So don't worry. But it is cold up here. It is cold like Aspen. But you're right. I think the last 6 majors have been won by Rory, Bryson, Xander's won 2, and Scheffler's won 2. So how good are those names?
Is that just the 1, 2, and 3 in the world?
1, 2, and 3, and then you got Bryson and Bryson. Where you put him. I mean, you could call him top 4 player in the world. Well, they're all they're the top 4 players, aren't they, basically? Yeah. So it's been absolutely brilliant to watch this. And I don't know where – well, I kind of do know where I want to start with this. And I actually know where I want to start, Mark, because we put that multi out there. We've said, right, this is what's going to happen, okay?
Oh, man.
And you know the guy that let us down? The guy that let us down was Rory McIlroy.
Rory.
We had Scheffler top 5, right? We had the 2 live players. We actually had 3 live players.
No, we didn't have Scheffler top 5.
We had JT.
Didn't have Scheffler top 5.
No, we didn't have Scheffler top 5. No, we only had Scheffler to beat Rory.
Really?
Yeah, we only had Scheffler to beat
Rory.
Sorry. Oh, my God, you guys are totally – we had Rory to beat Scheffler.
Oh, that's right.
We had 2 live players top 10.
And JT in the top 10?
And JT top 10.
We got one.
JT did finish top 10.
JT missed the cut.
JT didn't make the cut.
Oh, yeah, the wrong JT.
No, JT. JT posted.
I heard that. Now, apparently after 3 rounds, Brandel Chambly and McGinley went past him and they were just saying, hey, great play. And he goes, hey, you guys were talking up the wrong JT, which was right in the end because he did play quite well.
That's true.
Anyway, the multi was a disaster. Yeah. But don't look at it like this. You guys are looking at it the wrong way. Keep following. We will get up eventually. Now, the $10 that we had on offer, that's the lowest price that we've had. The next one might be $15, and it'll only be our 3rd go at it or 4th go at it. So they're not even money. You keep following us, we'll get one up, and over a 12-month period, our Wolfpack will be up.
Well, as I always say, there's no guarantee, and if you can't afford to lose it, don't bet it.
I'm guaranteeing we get the next one.
By the way, how did you go with Sepp Straka?
Sepp didn't make the cut, Nick. Okay, he didn't make the cut.
So
he was very, very unlucky. He's an unlucky player.
So you've donated $100 to Hummer's Christmas fund.
That's right. But guess what? I'm going to back him at Oakmont because he will still. They won't respect him, and he'll be at $60 or $70. And when he goes past the finish line and he holds up that trophy, I'll be laughing at everybody, especially you, Nick.
Maybe this week he got those mud balls, too many mud balls, right?
Well, I want to talk about the mud balls in a second, but you know what I want to do? I want to play you something that Ted Scott. Now, for those who don't know, Ted Scott used to caddy for Bubba Watson, won 2 Masters with Bubba Watson. He's now caddies for Scottie Scheffler, and he has won 2 Masters and a PGA with Scottie Scheffler. Have a listen to what he had to say straight after the win.
But, the hardest thing is the comment you just made is like last year to this year. There's a lot of expectations. And so this game is a lot more about the mind than it is about anything else. And so you can be hitting it great, and that doesn't mean anything. So I'd say the greatest gift that he has is his mental thought process and his ability to do what he did today, to not have his game, but to hang in there and just stay tough, stay resilient, and then all of a sudden you find a little something, start hitting it good, and now you're winning by a lot. And it's just going, wow, how does he do that? And I think most people kind of throw in the towel, and he just has a way to dig deep, and I can't believe I get to stand right next to him and watch him do it. I'm kind of pinching myself.
So, Nick, you know as well as I do, you warm up before a big tournament, and you look left and you look right, and everybody stripes it. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
What Ted Scott then, what he just said, to be able to take what you are capable of on the range and produce that when you need it most in the last round of a major, that's not physical. That is a mental capability that only the best players have. Now, I look at the way you played your career, and this is no slight on you, mate. So don't take this the wrong way, because I only have admiration for what you did in your career. But you were able to mentally produce an awful lot in your career. And, you were playing against guys who were hitting the ball a lot further than you. But you were able, to hit those long irons onto those small greens. And if you did miss a green, and that's not a physical skill, although you did have a wonderful physical skill, but your mental ability was underplayed in my book, from years watching you play at a very elite level. What do you think when you see Scottie Scheffler and his mental capability to produce what he produces, on that back nine?
Yeah, well, for starters, he's 28 years old. He looks 40. He looks like a seasoned veteran, and I can't believe he's only 28. Yeah. So the head he has on his shoulders is of a veteran that's been around for a long time. He's however many years on tour. It's not that long. What's that? His 15th PGA Tour win, his third major.
Yep.
The guy looks unflappable. And when things are going wrong, and this is a bit of the scary thing for me, first 2 days, he wasn't really playing very well.
Yep.
But I think he was, 4 or 5 under through 2 rounds.
And that's with a horrible mud ball penalty.
Mud ball on 16 on day one.
Yep.
And then Saturday, first 9, he's not playing well again. And then all of a sudden, he strings together this 9 holes where he throws the hammer down the last 5 under the last 5 holes.
Yep.
Back 930 or something, takes the lead, doesn't play the front 9 well Sunday, and then another good 9 holes. If you think about it, he's only played 18 really good holes. That's when he had his A game. The rest of the time he had his B and C game, and it's very Tiger-esque in that sense. So what you're talking about, the mental ability to not let the bad shots get to him. A lot of players, they'd start searching. They'd just go, hang on, I'm in trouble here. He just does not panic, and I think that's his biggest thing is his composure and his ability to just go, that's okay, my short game's here. It's going to save me. It's just going to keep me in the game. And then small adjustments that he makes, given his golf swing is built around fundamentals of grip, stance, alignment. It's not really about his golf swing. It's about those fundamentals. Him and his coach, Randy Smith, that's all they ever work on, really.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of a hip turn now and then. And I think he got to the 10th tee and he said afterwards, look, things aren't going right. And Ted Scott, his caddy, said, well, let's just aim a little bit further right.
Yeah.
Square it up his shoulders, and all of a sudden, flush down 10, flush second shot, flush on 11, and he just hit shot after shot on that second 9, and it was done.
Yeah. Well, look, when I tuned in, I tuned in on during that final round, and Scheffler was on the 3rd hole. So he'd made a bogey and a birdie. But Trevor Immelman, who I am just falling in love with, his commentary skills are elite, and that's what we're missing out on. I think he's a very, very good commentator. Trevor Immelman had a count going, and it was his misses left. Now, after 9 holes, he had 8 misses to the left. And that is a sick feeling when you're a right-handed professional player trying to perform. When it's going left, you don't know. But like you say, he made the adjustments. I think from what I've read and what I've listened to, slowing his swing down as well as maybe just aiming a little bit to the right. All of a sudden he was away. Can we quickly talk about that third round as well? I mean, he hit 13 out of 14 fairways. One was very lucky though. I think it was about the 9th or the 8th hole or something. He hit a bad drive and it hit a tree and kicked back out. So in reality, it was 12 out of 14 fairways. Hardly missed a shot. Played that the mile. What did he do? Played that 2 under and he birdied 14 and 15 as well. I think he played the last, 5 holes, 3 or 4 under.
Last 5 under, yeah.
5 under, was it? Yeah, it was
14,
crazy.
Birdied 15.
Yeah. So his ability is quite amazing, and he's doing it. And I'm going to show you a swing. Okay, I'm going to show you a swing, Nick. I'm not sure whether you've seen it or not, but what I reckon was his best shot on the back 9 on Sunday. Let's have a look at his second shot in the 15. Have a look at that follow through. I mean, that is crazy. If you brought somebody from outer space and said, okay, we're hitting the ball with a stick and we're trying to make it go straight for 300 yards, how do you reckon you should follow through? Like this bloke or like the bloke right next to him, Rory McIlroy, who doesn't move on his follow through? I mean, it's completely opposite to what we've been taught our entire lives.
Well, there goes my theory, because I always say to people, hit it as hard as you like, as long as you catch the middle of the face and stay balanced.
That's right.
So, and his balance is not there, obviously. He actually does pose at the end of that swing, but he ends up 8 feet away from the ball from where he started, because he's lost his balance, he's spun out of it, he's gone sideways, and it was one of the great shots. But the ball doesn't know.
That's right.
Once the ball's gone, you can do whatever you like, obviously. Now, it's so unique, and that footwork is, it's been well discussed and analysed, and but his action through the ball and the way he spins his hips and keeps everything in sync is incredible. And I think going back to what you sort of said earlier about his golf swing, and he had the lefts going. Fortunately, he didn't have the left and rights going, because that's even worse. At least it was a one-way miss. And I think it was Ian Baker Finch on the 11th tee. He said, watch his takeaway. He said, I think he's found something. He gets a bit out of sync when he has a quick takeaway. So you could see him slow it down, and then all of a sudden everything just gathered, and he was on his way.
Yeah. It's funny, that advice that you give people, that's exactly the advice that Tiger Woods gives his boy. So I've heard Tiger Woods say this a couple of times. Don't watch me, watch Rory, because Rory hits it as hard as he can, as long as he middles it, and as long as he finishes balanced. That's the skill that I want you to develop. And it's funny, when every time I watch Tiger's son play, what's his name? It's not Sam, Charlie. Every time I watch Charlie swing the club, every time they put him on the telly or I see it on a post, he's got a Rory McIlroy follow through where it's incredibly balanced. And it is a fantastic tip for 99% of golfers. But Randy Smith, he was clever enough from the start to understand the makeup of Scottie Scheffler and know very well that tip is just not for him. So, a coaching masterstroke.
Yeah, very much so. A little bit like Marcus Wheelhouse with Ryan Fox. He didn't really touch his power or anything like that. He just worked with what he had, and that's obviously what Randy's done with Scottie. And going back to your point with Ted Scott, his mental ability, his composure, it was fascinating for me, because on Saturday, Bryson had the lead for a while. Sunday, Rahm came at him, had the lead, had the chance to go in front by one shot.
Yep.
And then, there was all this debate afterwards, I think, on the post-game show by Brandel Chambly and Paul McGinley about live golfers. Do they play a schedule or a lead up that's conducive to winning majors and things like that? So now it's pretty harsh criticism on those guys, I think, but at the same time, I guess it's a little bit of a fair point. Scheffler, week in, week out, they're obviously playing 72 holes. He's playing tough golf courses, and they're playing against the best players in the world. However you want to look at that. There's obviously a lot of great players on live, but it's a team element, obviously. They're not playing as tough a golf courses, things like that. So if you want to win major championships and that's your only goal, it's probably not the best place to be if you want to do that. And maybe that showed, I guess, over the last couple of rounds, where Scheffler just separated himself at the right time. The other guys, Rahm was very surprising, because he hasn't played that well since he's gone to live, but you could see how excited and how much fun he was having until those last 3 holes where he kind of was a bit of a train wreck and not birdieing forward. If he'd have made that birdie on 14 and 15 where he had great opportunities, it could have been a whole different story because the pressure really would have been on Scheffler then.
Yeah, I reckon one of those putts he hit, I think the putt that he hit on was maybe 14. It just took a left turn like nothing.
That wasn't good.
It was in for a long way and it just went sharply
on 13,
left. Yeah, on 13, that one. That could have changed the ball game. If that one does what we all thought it was about to do, then he walks on the 14th tee, a different player, not desperate for a birdie. He's just had a birdie. And, when you're not desperate, when you play this game and you're not desperate, it's a nice little place to be because you just keep on trying to execute instead of trying to force something to happen. And it's a very different state of mind. And Nick, like I said, you know better than anybody. You make birdies for whatever reason, it produces a better mindset to make more birdies. It sounds so ridiculous to say, but if that putt on 13 goes in, I think it could well be a different story. And I just want to ask you, we're not saying LIV is the worst place to get ready for a major. It's probably the third best place because if back in my day, if I had one major to play in and you asked me, well, Marco, how do you want to prepare to get going? Well, I wouldn't want to prepare on LIV. I would much rather prepare on the DP World Tour, and a perfect scenario would be playing on the PGA Tour the week before. That would be my dream scenario if I had one major to play next year. LIV would be a pretty good place, but not the perfect place. And I just wonder, would it be a different situation for Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau and Neiman if they had 2 weeks on the PGA Tour to prepare for majors, particularly an event like what we just saw at Quail Hollow, where it's not quite a US Open. It's not a British Open. It's not the Masters. It's probably the most like a tour event that we see, the US PGA.
Yeah. No, I thought one of the most fascinating comments of that first game show, which I watched with Brandel and McGinley, was McGinley said, under pressure, I fall back to what my Navy SEAL friends tell me.
Oh, and this was good.
They always say you revert to your training.
Yeah.
Now, for PGA Tour players, they're playing obviously in pretty tough competitive elements. There's a cut involved and things like that. Now, LIV is a little bit different, obviously, the team aspect. So I think that's probably the point he was trying to get across. And it does make some sense. Now, Bryson has obviously won a major. He's been runner-up the last couple, so he's playing some amazing golf. So LIV suits him perfectly. But maybe for the other players like Dustin Johnson, we've never really heard from again. Brooks Koepka, he won one, a few years ago while he was on LIV, but he hasn't done much since. And Rahm, it was great to see Rahm back in the mix, though, because he's one of those fiery characters that you need up on the top of leaderboards, I think, to really make the game something special.
No doubt. And you know what? The bloke I think it's hurt the most is Neiman. I mean, Neiman's a star.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays. I mean, I think he's got a game absolutely set up probably for PGAs and US Opens. I think his game stacks up to win those tournaments. But my understanding is that's his first top 10 in a major.
Yeah. I think his best before that was like tied 14th, and he we didn't really hear much from him this week. He shot 68 final round to finish tied 8. So that's his best, and obviously he's been carving him up on the LIV Tour, but the majors hasn't been his happy hunting ground. And even before he went to LIV, he hadn't played the majors very well.
Yeah. Now you and I, we were a bit surprised to see mud balls being hit in round 1. I've got no idea when the stakes are so high. I've got no idea why the PGA of America let that go ahead. I mean, I know, for the integrity of golf and the sport, you want everybody, to pretty much have the same conditions. And it's better for the golf course too, where, you're not playing the ball up in round 1. It's a perfect situation, but they got it wrong. With all the water and with all the penalty on a lot of these second shots at Quail Hollow, the fact that you couldn't even just ask an official. There are officials everywhere at majors. At the very least, maybe you don't play the ball up, but You get an official over. Excuse me, I just want you to have a look. I've got a mud ball here. The official comes over and has a look and goes, yes, tick. Now, I know that's not a done thing in the world of golf. I know that. It's either one or the other. But there should be room for things like that at the very, very highest level. When you've got 1,000 rules officials crawling all over the golf course just to get it ticked off. So Nick, there is a difference, isn't there? I mean, there are grass stains when the ball lands on a soft. I'm not saying grass stain, pick it up and clean it, but mate, for a mud ball, when you walk up and you can see a chunk of mud stuck to your ball, you should be able to go, just whistle. Rules official comes over. Sir, I'd like to clean my ball. Yes, no problem, Scotty. Clean that ball. It's clearly a mud ball.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those debates that you can go back and forth on with whoever you talk to. I think Scheffler, when he did get that mud ball, I thought he explained it really well afterwards. He said you work your whole life.
He was great.
To be able to control the golf ball, and now it's taken out of my hands, and will that decide the tournament? I mean, it's kind of left up to a bit of chance. And then other people might have been, could have been Padraig Harrington, maybe. I think he actually said, well, it's a skill of the game. You need to learn to know how to play those. But
no one knows how to play mud balls.
No one knows how to play it.
How do you play a mud ball? You have a general
sense. Well, you have a general sense. Look, if mud's on the left side, the ball's going to go right. Now you don't know how far right. If you're hoping you get a mud ball on a hole where it's wide open around the green, you hope you don't get one when there's water left or right or something like that, because it's virtually impossible to play. So,
and what about when the mud's stuck on the bottom of the ball, Nick, and you can't see it and you can't pick it up to have a look? Yeah. What about those situations?
You just blame the caddy for giving you the wrong club.
That's not a bad idea. Hey, another one. Yeah. We saw Shane Lowry. Now, his ball was in someone else's plug hole.
Pitch mark, in the fairway.
Yeah, that's right, a pitch mark. Well, pitch mark. Well, we call them plug balls here in Australia.
Like, whatever.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. But to me, that was just not on. I mean, the condition of the golf course is wet. You're in somebody else's mark. I mean, surely the rules official have obviously done the right thing. But again, here's another situation where we're playing at this level of golf that's very different from playing in the Stableford end at the club, and you've got to call the professional out to have a look. There are rules officials everywhere. That ball was a long way down. That should have been a drop in a fair world.
Well, in a fair world, yeah. But if you're not doing preferred lies, I'm sorry if it's not your pitch mark, because then there becomes a debate of, well, it's an old pitch mark. It's maybe half a plugged ball. So should you get relief from that? And it's like divots. You know, it's you should get relief from divots. Well, is it an old one or is it a new one? Is it just a depression? There's a whole bunch of variations that you could debate on that. At the end of the day, if it's not your plug hole or your pitch mark, unfortunately, you don't get relief. And he was obviously very pleased about it, because the vision afterwards showed him creating a massive crater in the fairway. So it wasn't his finest performance.
No, it wasn't, but I let him off anyway. I'm going to let him off that performance, because that was horribly unfair. Speaking about fairness on the golf course, one of the Wolfpack has sent this in and hashtagged RakePod, which, folks, I guarantee is coming. It's coming. It's coming. It is coming.
I just think I saw this. We should do RakePod. You know why? Because at least then that's going to stop everyone just banging on about it.
Well, it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
We will.
But let's have a look at Jonathan Vegas, who did a great job, with the lead on round 2 to continue with the lead. But this happened during his week of golf.
Leader on 17.
It's a big swing when you're leading this golf tournament to stand on it. Curtis talked about it a few minutes ago. This is just a visually intimidating shot. And it's easy to do that.
Easy in the practice round.
Oh, my goodness. He hit the rake.
How about that break right there?
He hit the rake. And he turns out way better off. I mean, that could have done anything.
Clearly, a rake out of the bunker that has created something that's gone in Johnny Vegas's favour.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All right. So I'm from the school that says you get so many more bad breaks in this game than good. If a rake is left in the correct spot and you get a good break, then hallelujah, brother. Well done. You've got 1 in 10. But
now you're an advocate for the rake out of the bunker, correct?
Yes. Like all sane people, Nick, like same as you.
Yeah, that's right. But imagine if that had hit the rake and then bounced back in the water.
That's right. Well, there's not much you can do about it, though, is there? No. Now, when a rake is left in a bunker, and let's say that bunker is a frequently visited bunker in a day, then quite often every time you pick up the rake, the market's left in the bunker. You never clean that one up. Quite often you'll get into a trap, and that big, rotten, heavy head has left a line. And I don't know how many times I've finished in one of those things, particularly in a fairway trap where you're crucified, and all you can do is exploded out of that fairway trap.
Yeah. You should save all this for the rake pot, okay? We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, okay.
It was a lucky break and well deserved. It was a nice. I think that's his first top 10 or top 20 in a major for Vegas, so it's good to see.
Yeah. What about the fella who played with Scottie Scheffler in the last round as well? He hadn't been playing much golf. What's his name? Goes left. What's some of the craziest?
Alex Noren.
Some of the craziest rehearsals I've ever seen in the world of golf. I think him and Justin Rose probably are on the same level of crazy rehearsals before they actually make a swing at the ball. For the amount of golf he played, it was just brilliant. I thought he.
Yeah, I think it was his second tournament of the year.
Yeah,
because he's had injuries and he's been out for a long time, and to do that, and I mean, it wasn't unexpected the way he played on the final round. It's sort of going to catch up with you if you haven't had that many competitive reps, but he's a good guy, Alex, and had a heck of a career. Very good Ryder Cup player, and it's good to see him back out playing again. So
he just missed the top 12. Well. He just missed the top 12 to be invited back next year. That bogey on the last cost him. Now there was one more thing. There was one more thing.
Yeah, the drivers.
Yes,
Rory and Scheffler.
So I knew Rory's. I didn't understand that Scheffler's was also deemed illegal before they played. So
yeah, he had to take it out because, and he wasn't surprised because he said, look, he kind of knew it was coming. He'd been using this driver for a year or so, and what happens is that the face changes. The more you use it, it gets thinner and starts maybe caving or something like that, or creating more of a trampoline effect. So
there's more give.
Yeah. He didn't use it all tournament, much like Rory, so there's no issue there. I mean, the big debate now is with Rory, for example, did he use it during the Masters and things like this? And but the problem is no one knows because Rory did not do any media all week. He didn't had to do a press conference after every round.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You're the Masters champion.
You're the Masters champion. You're the only person on the planet who's got a run at the Men's Grand Slam. You're a leader in the world of golf, and you're a spokesperson for the world of golf. To not do any media was shameful. Anyway, I don't know why. I don't know why that is the case, but I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, but there'll be some, conjecture in the next week or so about drivers and that. But this is a common thing. The tour now, they test all the drivers, and sure enough, I mean, the manufacturers, they're going to get them as close to the line as they possibly can to give their players an advantage. But every now and then, after some wear and tear, which typically happens, they then cross that line, and so they got to take them out of play.
Righto, Nicholas. You just take care in your chalet up there in Aspen, and what we will do...
He's having a glass of port, I
think he might be having a little bit of port.
I might have an eggnog or something.
We'll stick to the party pies, and we'll see you on the 10th tee.
All right.
Looks good, man. Dude. Are we in slow motion, too?
We're live from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. We all know the number one ball in golf is Titleist, and the number one shoe and glove in golf is FootJoy. We're here thanks to the Golf Clearance Outlet. They beat everyone's prices. Ping will always help you play your best. Turn your bogeys into birdies with the Watch My Numbers app, and Betr, the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. That's Betr. Now, back to Talk Birdie to Me. Here's Nick and Mark.
Rightio, welcome back to Titleist FootJoy headquarters. Of course, Nick O'Hearn up in Aspen, just having a port and getting ready for some slalom this afternoon. What a beautiful looking pad you've got up there. It is beautiful, mate, seriously. Hey, now, I know you're...
Do you know what it looks like a little bit? It looks like one of those places in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, the Dumb and Dumber set. That's exactly what it looks like. Now, I know your top five's going up, but can I just look forward to my masterclass, please? It's the single greatest masterclass I've ever done.
Oh, come on.
And it's on the back of Scottie Scheffler and what Randy Smith is trying to get him to do, which is to find some space on the way down. I've got the greatest ever drill in history. I've been doing it last week, and it is amazing how something so simple can make you use your hips like a professional.
Love it.
There you go.
Okay. Can't wait to see this one.
Anyway, over to you, Nicholas, for the top five.
Top five.
The Talk Birdie to Me top five, thanks to Southern Golf Club.
Top five.
Okay, this week's top five in honour of the Green Mile we just saw at Quail Hollow, the 16th, 17th, 18th. So this is going to be my top five toughest final three holes that I have ever played in a major.
Nice.
Okay.
Right, this is good.
Toughest final three holes.
This is good.
Number five, which is interesting. This one, it could create a bit of debate, but St. Andrews, 16, 17, 18 of the old course. Now, 18 is not the hardest hole, but it is hard to make a three if you need to.
Yeah.
16 is a very strong par four. You got out of bounds right. The principal's nose bunkers, I think, in the middle there that you got to avoid. And then 17 is possibly one of the toughest par fours in the world.
You don't have to sell 17. 17 is a non-sell. That is a killer hole.
Definitely.
Yeah. Especially when players on purpose are trying to miss the green. So many are trying to leave it short and right.
No, and myself included, don't worry.
Yep.
Number four, the 2006 US Open venue, Winged Foot, the one that Jeff Ogilvy won.
Where do you finish?
16-7.
Hang on.
I finished sixth.
You finished
I finished sixth.
Yeah,
I had a good week.
Make sure you get that in, please. And because you're always forgotten. You are always forgotten about. We always talk about Jeff Ogilvy winning.
Yeah.
But you had a fabulous sixth place there.
How
many over were you?
I had a great final round. I was 8 over, which finished sixth.
That's how
5
tough that
over
course
1
was. Yep.
Got to 5 over with 9 holes to play and couldn't hang on, unfortunately. And ended up, I think, bogeying 16 and 18, so trying to force something. But those three finishing holes, 3 very strong par fours at Winged Foot. Incredible. Number 3, I played the PGA here in the early 2000s that David Toms won at the Atlanta Athletic Club. 16, 17, 18. 16 was a strong par 4, 17 a beautiful par 3 over some water, and then 18, it was the first time they'd ever had a par 4 over 500 yards in a tournament. It's a par 5 for the members, but they played it as a par 4, and I never got home into both days that I was there because I did miss the cut. David Toms actually had to lay it up in the final round and got it up and down with a wedge.
Yeah, famously. That was an amazing finish.
Just such a tough finish. This one, people will think, of course, it's one of the toughest finishes in golf. Carnoustie, 16, 17, 18. If you get the wrong wind there, 16 and 18 into the breeze, oh my gosh, it is so hard.
No, I played there in 99 and driver into 16 and 18 was a driver, and I actually nailed it. And I hit the best 2-iron of my entire life. It got over the Barry Burn by about a club length, I reckon. The two best shots I could ever imagine hitting.
Jean Vandervelde would have paid you a lot of money for that. But an incredibly tough finish. I mean, remember Harrington getting it up and down for double to make the playoff.
That's right.
What was that, 2008 or something?
That's right.
So it always produces a fascinating finish there. My number one toughest, although I never played a major at the course that was just played Quail Hollow, and the only reason is because I had one of the worst finishes on the last 3 holes to miss the cut by 1. Triple bogey, bogey.
Jeez.
Anyway, that's my top 5 toughest closing holes.
Very good.
In a major that I've played.
Accurate.
Right, that is the top 5. Thanks to the great folk at Southern Golf Club, and I still love that course. I still love the pictures they're putting out. It's beautiful.
It's a great club.
It's a great club. Bit of one-way traffic on the feedback here, boys. We had a lot of comments from people on the coverage of the weekend's golf in Quail Hollow. So they're all along similar lines. I'll read a couple of them to you. I'm not going to read all of them. This is from Nick. G'day, boys. I noticed Fox dropped their early round featured group ESPN coverage for the PGA Championship at the weekend, even though they've had it for basically every PGA Tour event of the year. Now, I'd understand dropping it for the few regular PGA Tour events, but for a major championship, I think they've lost the plot. First, no CBS coverage, and then now this. Now, we had a couple of other ones. I'll go through these. How bad was the ESPN commentary and coverage showing the scoreboard after one or two shots? Inane chat between commentators sounding like two mature-age uni students hijacking a class. It was awful. That's very harsh, that one.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's best when Immelman is on. When he is on, it's elite. And then they go to the coverage where they're not on site. They must be back at PGA Tour headquarters. And they're hamstrung with what they can do, Nick, aren't they? I mean, you know as well as I do. When you're not on site, it's very, very difficult to do. Now, all this has come from people complaining that they're not showing enough international players on the old coverage. So they've listened to, and now we are getting what we have asked for, which is a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
It's not great.
No, it's no good.
Is it going to change?
I think if we keep the feedback coming, I think it will change.
Yeah.
Well, that's two comments. That's 2 comments, but I reckon we had 20.
Right.
I mean, there's no point in reading 20 because they're all saying the same thing.
I might try and get somebody from Fox on, or let's try and get somebody on.
Yeah.
See if we can push the button.
Now, you were talking about this before. This is from Keith. G'day, guys. Love the pod. If Jono Vegas shot on 17 isn't the best reason to have a rake pod, I don't know what is. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, so he's clearly a rake person in the trap by the sounds of it. By the way, he would have made 3 no matter where it bounced. I mean, he made 3 where it went to, and then he actually probably would have made 3. I mean, he's a professional. It would have been just on.
Probably would have got it up and down.
He probably would have got it up and down or putted from the fringe. So it didn't matter to the score, but he did get a break. But like we were saying before, I don't know. What do you think, Nick? But I would say you get 6 or 7 bad breaks for every good break you get in golf.
You've obviously had a lot of bad luck in your time.
I was a very unlucky player, Nick. A very unlucky player.
Okay.
Now, we've got a couple of comments here on Rory. We haven't talked about the Rory announcement too much that came out last week. This is from Adam. I hope they haven't had to pay Rory an appearance fee. I think there's no question they have to have paid Rory something.
Now, Ross Stevenson, who we got the rumour from, alerting people to the fact that Golf Australia had signed Rory and we were going to play Royal Melbourne Composite. We didn't know about the Kingston Heath the year after and Rory McIlroy turning up the week after. Ross Stevenson was told that he's only getting $500,000 US a year. Now, if that is the case, and I trust Ross and where he gets his information from, then that is the single greatest thing Visit Victoria have ever achieved.
I'll make it back in no time.
If they've got him for $1 million US over 2 years, that's the greatest bargain in the history of events in this country.
Well, yeah, that would be the greatest bargain ever. I've heard something different, but I'm.
Well, go on.
And it was cool. No, I'm not going to say because the source didn't want it to be publicly known, but it's substantially more.
Okay.
So anyway,
all right.
Which is not surprising. And actually, what the figure was, I thought, okay, yeah, that's probably a little under what I thought it might have been. So,
so it's reasonable.
Anyway.
So, Nick, without going too high, I mean, I know you don't want to name the figure, but when you say it's a bit north of what Mark has said, how far north is it?
Well, it depends if we're talking Aussie or US dollars here.
Well, talk Australian pesos.
I wasn't sure what put it this way, it's still in the 7 figures. It's not in the 8 figures. So, you know.
All right,
we're talking Aussie dollars. So anyway, that gives you an idea.
Right. Well, if it's under 10 million Aussie,
what did they,
that's still fantastic.
But well, yeah. I mean, what did they pay Tiger? Was it 5 million when he came down?
They never released it. Yeah, I think it was 5 million Australian.
I think it was 5.
Yeah,
and that was a bargain for him in the end. Everyone screamed about it, but
best spent money
brought in a
time.
fortune.
Best spent money ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Some other comments on the Open. Mark, this is from Cameron. Yep. Mark Scoop Allen. Rory's name alone will pull through some better fields, crowds, and allow both courses to fully shine on the world stage. I think an opportunity to head back to the 5th major status?
Well, not quite the 5th major status, but it could be a hell of an event on the DP World Tour. That's the kind of place we want to get to. And it's really important, because all these young players coming through, our girls getting onto the LET, we're seeing it a lot. We're seeing our girls get onto the LPGA Tour a lot. It's really, really good. The sooner we can get our best young players onto either the secondary or the DP World Tour, the better. And so many players, you're included, Nick, started there. They all started on the European Tour. They get their game to a certain level and they get across, the Atlantic Ocean, and they end up playing on the PGA Tour. But either way, if we've got Australian flags on Thursday and Friday night watching the DP World Tour, or more Australian flags on the US Tour, that's a huge effort. It's just a wonderful thing to happen.
Yeah, and it starts with the pathways that the PGA of Australia is creating here, and the WPGA as well. I mean, with Rory coming down for the Australian Open, the BMW PGA Championship the week before, that is going to be a phenomenal event as well. We've got an incredible field going. So we've got two of the biggest events, I think, in the Southern Hemisphere of the entire year in those little 2 weeks. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, look, it's a really good point you make, and we are guilty of it. We don't put the Australian PGA on the pedestal that it deserves, Nick, and
I do, because I'm a past champion.
Well, I know I haven't been, and I apologise to the Australian PGA, because the work that they have done to get the Australian PGA where it is, and when you look at the amount of sponsors they have got,
I know.
The sponsors tell the story of the Australian.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it is
impressive.
And to have those two tournaments in a position of significance on the DP World Tour one day, when they are bigger tournaments, they're not the bare minimum bones, they're bigger. If that's what we're working towards, and just our young players get an opportunity, then that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Last comment on the Australian Open here. This is from Kiwi Mick. $2 million prize money and 70-odd PGA Aussie players, 70 DP Tour players plus invites. However, still a terrible date for Americans to come. Aussie live players will play, but I reckon zero chance of Bryson, Phil, Brooks, etc. Their season finishes end of August, starts in Feb. Adam Scott's a yes, Jason Day's a no.
That's right. That's correct. And look, I've always said this, you keep on wishing for the big name Americans to come down, and the players that we see on the US Tour. It's got to be in the right spot in February. It's probably got to be up against, in a perfect world, one of the Pro-Ams that are put on. So it gives an opportunity. So, like in a perfect world, if I'm at the PGA, I'm asking for a meeting and I'm putting the Australian Open and the Australian PGA in that place to where they are against the Pro-Am circuit that we see over there, which is it's an elevated event now, isn't it, Nick? The Pebble Beach Pro-Am is an elevated
the Pebble
event.
Beach, yeah, but I think it rotates. But there is another one maybe in Palm Springs. But the schedule for us down here in Australia is so hard to fit in with the rest of the world, obviously. And I think the lead-up events that we have at the moment to the PGA and the Australian Open are very good, and where that finally fits and where it finally slots in the schedule, time will tell. It's obviously been in that position for quite a while when we had the 3 events with the Masters as well, but we'll see. I mean, I believe the ladies next season are going to have a nice run of events here in Australia as well, around that February sort of March area. So I'm looking forward to that. So maybe if the other events can fit in there as well. Time will tell.
It's a nice template for the men, Nicholas, what the ladies are doing.
True.
It's a wonderful template for what the men should be doing. But look, we're stuck where we are at the moment. But again, hopefully we're working towards something quite big.
Yeah. Well, we're growing each year, which is great.
Which is great.
The tour here has doubled in size in the last few years, so it's brilliant.
Okay, last bit of feedback here from James on RakePod. Marco, the RakePod. Is this an obsession because Kingston Heath has the worst rakes of any golf club? I played there today, and their rakes are a disgrace. However, it's an amazing track. I had a great round. The members and staff were brilliant. I cannot wait to get back.
Who sent that in?
James.
For the first
what are your thoughts on the rakes?
For the first time in my life, I cannot comment.
Oh, hang on.
As a member of Kingston Heath, I cannot comment on our rakes.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Nick, let me ask you a question then.
Yes.
I'm not talking about Mark here. This has got nothing to do with Mark.
Nothing to do with me.
Sure.
But why would a member of a golf club not publicly make a critical comment about said golf club? Not about you, Mark. This has got nothing to do with Mark and Kingston Heath. It's more a generic question. Nick, why would that be the case?
Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest, Dan.
That'll do. Move on. Let's move on.
No, I've played all around the metropolitan area, and some courses have some amazing rakes, some not so much. So I think when we do the rake pod, all will be revealed.
Okay.
That'll do. Thank you.
And on that note, we will do the Ping Global results. Nick, you ready to take it away?
Oh, yes. Get that trumpet up and ready.
No, there's no trumpet anymore, Nick. And that's not as good. We need to fix it.
No trumpet? What's this right now?
That's not really a trumpet.
I know it's not Timmy, but it's still pretty good.
Timmy.
It's still pretty good.
He still hasn't. I've repeatedly tried, and he will not get back to me.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, this week there wasn't that many Ping Global results, but let's start with the PGA at Quail Hollow. Obviously, Scottie Scheffler just ran away from everyone at the end. Tied for second, Ping player Harris English. What a round from him, 65, 6 under. He finished a good 2 or 3 hours before everyone and just kept creeping up that leaderboard.
And that's why, Nick, it's really important for majors. I think that's a beautiful thing that happens, is that someone hits off early. But that can't happen if you've got a U-draw like they had in the third round. So
third round. Well, they had to do that. Because of the weather.
That's right. So if you don't know what we're talking about, the U-draw, the people who just made the cut were hitting off on the other 9 at the same time the leaders were. So Rory McIlroy and Scheffler, they were hitting off the 10th hole the same time as the leaders were hitting off. So they really didn't have that. They really didn't have that chance to shoot something special when there was no wind and the greens are perfect and all the rest of it. And that's a dimension of golf that we don't get when there is a U-draw and everyone's playing in threes. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. Golf's not meant to be fair, but it is what it is. But it was a fine round from Harris, tied for second along with Bryson and Davis Riley as well. So best of the Australians who did make the cut, Cam Davis, tied for 19th. He actually opened with a 66 and had the day one lead for a while, but was second to Vegas at that stage. Also on tied 19th was Adam Scott. Unfortunately, he was going nicely, but it was +4 his last 5 holes. So struggled towards the end.
Did you hear,
Ryan Fox?
Hang on, just on Adam Scott. Did you hear Immelman say that he was leading in scrambling for the week, Adam Scott?
In scrambling?
He was leading in scrambling halfway through the last round. Now,
I did not know that.
I would put forward that that's the first time that's ever happened for Adam. So that's kind of, in my view, a pretty good sign of where his game's at.
Yeah, his short game is working well.
Fantastic.
So, that's good. Tied for 28th was Ryan Fox, and the final Australian to make the cut was Elvis Smiley. So very, very good. Finished tied for 72nd, but 4 rounds in a major is always great experience.
And well done for you for tipping Ryan Fox as your roughie, because he was doing quite well early. I thought, here we go.
He was doing all right early, but just kind of faded towards the end, but that's okay. Anyway, Corn Ferry Tour, we had Korean SH Kim have a 3-shot win at the Advent Health Championship in Kansas City, Missouri. Tied for 21st was Rain Gibson, sole Aussie there, so well done. On the Champions Tour, we had a major happening, the Regions Traditions. They have about 5 or 6 majors on the Champions Tour, I think, in Birmingham, Alabama, but in a rain-delayed final round, they had to come back on Monday. Angel Cabrera birdied 2 of his last 3 holes to shoot 64 and have a 1-shot win over Jerry Kelly.
Okay.
So that's his first Champions Tour major. He has won 2 regular season majors.
Doing well.
So well done to Angel. Steve Orker, who's always up there, was in 4th. Michael Wright finished outright 8th.
What about Greeny?
For him, and he got in after Michael Wright got in after Scott Verplank withdrew. So great result for him. Richard Green had the first round lead but finished tied for 16th, and then Mark Hensby tied for 22nd. Greg Chalmers tied for 27th were the best of the Aussies. On the LET Tour, on the LET, or the Ladies European Tour, they had the Dutch Ladies Open, where this girl is playing some amazing golf. Englishwoman Mimi Rhodes, who's a rookie, has won 3 of her last 4 starts. So she is carving them up over there in Europe. Momoka Gabori tied for 4th, the New Zealander, so well done to her. And then on the local front, if you remember last week, we had Mark Ishbank on the pod. We had, as part of the ISPS Honda Blind Golf Australian Open in Adelaide. So Mark actually finished 5th. He played really well. But Andrew Wells had a one-shot win over Ross Frame in the men's section, and Michelle Watts took out the women's title. So well done to those players there playing the Blind Australian Golf Open. And that's this week's Ping Global results.
Okay, Mark, you ready for the greatest, what'd you call it? Your self-described greatest masterclass ever?
This will be the greatest masterclass I've ever put forward.
Oh, okay.
And this will help more people than any other masterclass I've ever done.
Okay, that's a big
I'm going to go try it this afternoon.
And it's on the back of Randy Smith and what he was trying to help Scottie Scheffler with.
Okay. Well, thanks to Watch My Numbers, you can download from Google Play or the App Store the masterclass, the greatest ever that Mark's done, back in 30 seconds.
I think you didn't talk it up enough.
Oh, sorry. What
I need where's the trumpet? That's how big it is.
You want some dramatic?
I want Timmy Trumpet back. Just for this one thing. It's going to be the greatest. For Watch My Numbers, now this tip is a beauty, and I promise you, so many people that I play golf with, including really good players, don't use their hips correctly. Now we saw Randy Smith, and that is Scottie Scheffler's golf coach, behind him, trying to get his hips to work the right way. If you are a person who gets closer to the ball as the club comes down, then these hips get in the way, and that makes it impossible to play the golf that you want to play. Now, a wonderful drill that I've seen. You get 3 balls, a golf club head width apart. And what you do when you're on the driving range is you set up normally to the middle ball, and then you hit the ball closest to you. Now, what that does is it forces you to get the hips out of the way so you can come down and hit that ball. So you do that again. This time, you set up to the furthest ball, and you do exactly the same thing. And you can see my hips going in. And now this is the best bit. Now that you've got the feeling for what the hips do the same feeling with the hips, but hit the ball you've set up to. And the amount of space that you get through the hitting area is next level. So, Nicholas, I want you to give it a try, because I've been studying your swing lately, and I think you need some more room through impact.
I do. Yeah. I will say that is one of the best you've ever done. The greatest? Well, I'll let you know after I've gone and hit some balls later.
Well, look, there is a danger of hitting a hosel here and there early days, but don't give it away just because you hit an early hosel is my advice to everybody. All right. Well,
if it works for Scotty, it works for us.
Always great fun. I cannot wait for Oakmont. I just cannot wait for the next major. It's just setting up for a great golfing majors calendar. Anyway, folks, we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
And that's been Talk Birdie to Me, Australia's most popular golf podcast, with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen, coming from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. As everyone knows, Titleist is the #1 ball in golf, and FootJoy, the #1 shoe and glove in golf. Wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to subscribe, maybe leave a review, and we'd love you to share the pod with a friend who loves their golf. Huge thanks to our fantastic partners. Ping, like they do for Nick O'Hearn, will help you play your best. You can see your local golf shop or professional for a Ping club fitting. The Golf Clearance Outlet always beat everyone's prices. Visit golfclearanceoutlet.com.au for your nearest store. Watch My Numbers is the most powerful data-based golf app in the world. You can download from the App Store or Google Play. And Betr, they've got the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. Download from the App Stores today. Now that's better. Keep in mind, what are you really gambling with? But for now, from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, thanks for being a part of the show. We'll see you next time.